have a little confession to make today. I was probably one of the worst employees of all time when I worked in corporate, and I still got a 30% pay raise. This episode is going to be all about that. It's going to be all about the tips, tricks, hacks, ways for you to get a promotion without you burning yourself out. Like, I'm here to demystify this idea that we have to work overtime in order for our boss to give us a little bit more money in order for us to get promoted in our role. This is just fully not true. And I am living proof of this, that the people who get promoted are the loud ones. They're the ones who are willing to play the politics. They're ones willing to learn the system and play that game rather than play the goody two-shoot game of I'm gonna be the greatest employee and go above and beyond, because I hate to break it to you, that's probably why you're not getting a raise. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what this so-called game is, because the reality situation is I did not know this game when I graduated college and I had my first job. You think I just intuitively knew this stuff? No, I literally accidentally fell into this because I was so focused on trying to figure out, I need to quit my job soon, I need to start a company, what do I do? I was not focused on my job. So I was sourcing and trying to find different ways to get the most amount of work done in the least amount of time, that I accidentally landed into a crazy promotion. That's the truth. That's literally the truth. I wish I was a better employee. In fact, there were so many times where I would look at my work and be like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed of this. I am so much smarter and better than this, but I was so focused on what I needed to do after that corporate job that I was like, you know what, whatever. I have only so much mental bandwidth right now to think about it. So let's talk about all the reasons why you're not getting a raise before we actually go into the active ways you can go and fight for this. First of all, you're doing things no one asked you of and you're expecting to get brownie points for it. That is not how it works. When you go plan the team on site and you talk to 10 vendors to get the food just perfect, that's not helping you get a promotion. No one asked you to do that. You self-volunteered yourself. There are 2, max 3 things your manager expects you to exceed on. Exceed on those. Don't do random things that no one asked you to do. Second, I just bet you're putting a bunch of emotion and logic and reasoning into a game that is not logical, that is not built on emotion. This is a game of politics. You play politics with politics. Don't go into the promotion thinking, oh my God, I have such a good relationship with my manager, they really love me, I'm so nice to them, I got them a Christmas gift, they're totally gonna get me a promotion. That is assuming logic and reason and emotion works. It doesn't work in this game. I'm sorry. I know this is not what you want to hear. You want to think there's human beings, real human beings with actual sympathy and kindness behind this process. That's just not how it works. There is so many different levers that you aren't even aware of at play. I'm not even aware of at play. Stakeholders are so much more beyond your manager and the leadership team. A lot of these big companies have crazy investors behind them, literally playing puppet. I'm not saying this is true for every company, but what I am saying is that there is slim to no chance you actually understand what's happening behind the scenes. Don't simplify it as my relationship, my manager is good, I am nice to my manager, thus manager is gonna be nice to me back and give me a praise. For all you know, some random person told your manager, you have $20,000 allocated to your 5 direct reports. I mean, I'm making that up, but you just don't know. So that's one thing. You need to detach from the process and really play the game without being emotional about it. That's the only way you're gonna win. Do these people at these companies care about being ethical? Not really, not that much. So going into it and expecting you're gonna get a raise simply because you did the bare minimum, simply because you're doing the role that was expected to you or doing more, it's not gonna work. Okay, the other thing I want you to think about, and this is really important because I think this is the number one thing I get from people, which it makes me so angry. It makes me angry that they have these expectations that corporate America is going to be this amazing place that gives them a salary and they have work-life balance and they like their coworkers and they love their project. I mean, that's a dreamland you're living in if you think that you're going to get all these things from a job. There's this famous quote, and part of this quote is basically saying that in life, there are no shortcuts. You cannot bargain anything in life. Going into a job and expecting you're going to get paid what you want and love your job and love your manager and love your work is asking for a bargain on life. That's not how life works. If you want the work-life balance and the autonomy and like the motivation and the passion for your job. Yeah, start your own company. I'm sorry, but like you literally just have to like start your own company. And then what is the con of that? You don't get paid for a very long time, if ever. You have to ask yourself, like, why are you bargaining? You're bargaining with life right now. If you want the like steady salary that comes to your like door every month and you get that steady paycheck and you don't fear risk of like not having a savings account, if you're not working 100 hours a week and you get to leave work at 6 p.m. every day, yeah, there's a lot of cons. Like, don't expect to get paid a lot. Don't expect to like love your job. Don't expect people to be human and kind. Like, you're asking for too much. This is like not how the world operates. If you want all these things, you have to hustle for it. You have to do a lot more. You have to probably go start your own company because that's really the only environment you can actually control your work situation. The other thing is I just need you guys to like lower your expectations a little bit here because this is corporate America. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have the like perfect salary and the perfect manager and like the perfect situation. So, sorry, this is not what you want to hear, but like this is the truth. You can't have both. So the other thing is like just go into it knowing that like you're gonna get what you're gonna get and kind of just spend your time and energy really just focusing on your life outside of that 5 p.m. that you clock out in, because that is the luxury and privilege of like having a steady job and like being a corporate employee. So if you're going to do that, at least tap into that privilege. Like, don't spend all your time after work stressing about how, like, you didn't get paid, like, $20,000 more. You know what I mean? The other complaint I get all the time is, like, oh, but, like, me and my coworker are at the same level. Like, we joined at the same time. We literally do the same role, and they're getting paid more than me. Like, never, literally never compare your salary with your coworkers. It is just a great way to feel shit about yourself. Like, two promotions cannot be compared to each other because there are like 1,000,001 factors that go into the decisions of how much people get paid. Like, maybe that person started way lower than you and that's why they got promoted a lot more because like they were trying to like, the manager like felt bad and they were trying to like level up to other people. Maybe they actually came and had a better offer and like threatened the company. You don't know that. Or maybe, I don't know, there's like some reason they're on some team that's like more important than yours. You didn't get to pick the team that you're on, but that's just luck. That's just like sometimes happens, right? And so they're more scared about losing that person versus losing you, even though you guys are like the same engineer, just like they've already onboarded onto that team that they care more about. Like there's 1,000,001 reasons. Like you just like don't know. So trying to compare yourself and trying to like do like, oh, but they have this many years experience and that's same as me. And like these little itty bitty, like no one is even looking at that. That's not even how promotions work. I'm about to tell you how they work. And you're going to see why at the end of this episode, why comparison like doesn't even make any sense, because your entire year boils down to this one promo doc that you create for your manager to use. And it's not the entire year of work that you did. That's the irony of the situation. That's why I really want to debunk this myth that like the hardest worker gets the biggest promotion. It's like literally, it's never been true. It's literally never been true. The other thing that I want to highlight is like, you cannot start thinking about this a month before promo cycle. Like, it's done. Things are done. People don't care anymore. No one has energy. They're like strapped. Like they have 1,000,000 promos to look over. Like they don't have the extra attention to give to you, to give you that extra raise. Like if you want a raise, if you want more money, the process is a lot harder than just saying like, hey, you get to not get laid off today, you know? So start this conversation 6 months in advance. Just keep in mind, like all these tricks and tips that I'm telling you, they are not things that are supposed to take a long time. Like I was 100% not the hardest worker. I was barely working full work days. But you know what I was? I was really loud. I was really loud all the time. I was extremely in everyone's face all the time. And I was braggy and I talked about it all the time. And these things are quite unnatural. They're pretty cringe. And I don't think that was natural to my personality. I really mentally struggled during this time to put out work that wasn't perfect. But I'm so glad I did that because one, it gave me like more emotional time and just bandwidth in general to think about my next steps after I quit. By the way, thinking about that and trying to plan my life outside of corporate America when I was actually going to quit, that took me years. Like that's not something that just like happens overnight. So the other thing is like, you don't want to leave a job feeling bitter. Like why would you ever want to have regrets about anything in your life? So sometimes when you overexert yourself or you put too much into a system that's not asking you to put that much, like you're going to lose in the end. Like no one's going to give you brownie points for things that no one asked you to do. You know what I mean? let's talk about like the actual actions and systems you can put into place to guarantee this promo. And for context, a 30% pay raise, which is what I got, that's like not common. It's definitely not common early in your career. Like this is my first promotion ever. I talked to my peers after and no one got promoted as much as me and no one got that much of a pay raise. And I think it has to do with literally the way I vocalized my achievements. So for starters, every single day I would take literally 30 seconds, it was never more than that, and screenshot the most impactful thing that I did. Many days, because a product manager is like a pretty abstract role, like literally what even is that job? Like it's not like I'm shipping X lines of code every day or like I contributed to this code base. It's like I had a conversation with my coworker and like I helped them decide something and saved them some time. So what did I do? I would screenshot that conversation and I would just like dump it in a folder. That's it. That's all I did. Nothing more than that. And I would do that every single day. So like right before I would like log off for the day, I would do like screenshot, dump, okay, done. What happens is most of the time throughout the year, it feels very busy, but then when you look back and you're like, well, I did like 1 or 2 projects. Because those were like I only got like 1 or 2 really big like things that like moved the needle on the company. And then you talk about your promo and they're like, you did 2 things. You didn't really get a promo. Like that's not enough things. But if you are constantly screenshotting things every day, you have a million small things that you can add up into many big things. But you're not going to obviously remember 100 small things to add them up at the end. So this is where the screenshots come in. So for example, what I did is at the end, I had one category, one folder of like, okay, Slack conversations. And then I would literally add up all the time I saved my coworkers. And time translates to money. If I saved the company 10 hours, that's 10 hours of working hour. That's like a salaried employee would have to do that work if I didn't. So very quickly from a Slack message, I could literally give a number. I saved the company $3 million this year because every day I was saving hours of coworkers' time simply by making decisions and having conversations. Probably you didn't think that could be counted, but of course that's valuable. That does help the company. But it's really hard to measure at the end of the year when you don't have any sort of system to go around it. That's just one example of the things you could do. The company's not going to give you money unless you made them more money. So everything, all your achievements, everything you quantify has to be a $sign. And there is a way to put a $sign to everything. Do not worry about this number being accurate. A guess, approximate, good enough. Like they understand what you're trying to do here. Obviously don't be like completely off. And like that's also why I say talk to your manager like 6 months in advance, because if you can get your manager bought in, they can actually help you calculate these things because they're going to have more information than you and they're going to help you better understand the work that you did. Instead of making your manager do the work of framing why you should get promoted, you do their work for them. And you do so much work, you make it so easy for them, like you literally hand them a brief with like an executive summary on top and a table of achievements with full details of projects linked to projects, and every line item should add up to I saved this much money. And then at the end of the page, you can be like, I saved the company $10 million. Yes, you can very easily get a number like that. If you saved a company $10 million, you can get a 30,000 pay bump. Of course you can, if you can actually justify that impact with proof line items. That's where the screenshots come in. That's where linking your projects come in. That's where like doing the math is important because no one's going to do the math for you. Why would the leadership team sit and calculate, oh, she did 10 projects, let me calculate how much time they saved? They're never going to do that. They're going to skim and they're like, okay, like she did a few projects. Like that seems like she doesn't need a promo. Like, or she'll get like a tiny little bump because like I don't want her to complain about inflation or something like that. So obviously you have to do a little bit more work. Again, you can't bargain for the price of anything in life. You got to do a little bit more work if you want to get paid more. But it's about working smart, right? So I'm not telling you to work harder at work. I'm saying like do a better job of framing these and like working 6 months in advance, working closely with your manager, having follow-up conversations with your manager and leadership team many months in advance to show like, I'm trying to get a promo. I'm trying to get this much raise. I want this. You have to be clear about your intentions very far in advance. So when they get that doc, they're going into it like, okay, she wants something. Like, let's actually evaluate for that, right? So you have to have these. And I have this like whole rubric in my link in bio, which talks about like how to turn a screenshot into actual like money saved for the company, how to like put it in like a nice little thing and put charts and tables and stuff. And then the other thing I have in there is I have actual email templates you can literally grab and like how to follow up these many months in advance with the leadership team, with the manager, which you can literally copy, use all of it. I used all of this to get my promo and I literally packaged it all up to give to you guys. And it's all free, by the way. Like I just want to help you guys get paid what you deserve. At the end of the day, like this stuff is very gate kept. It's gate kept for like people who are in their career. It's especially kept for women, because as a society, like, we're not really taught to like vocalize and brag and be loud. Like, it's very anti-feminine. I'm sorry, but the feminine doesn't work in the workplace. So we got to honestly go out of our comfort zone and be okay with bragging and sharing our achievements and being loud and proud about it. So what I can talk about is like a little bit more about how I did that, because at the end of the day, if you're kind of shy the whole year and then you make this like perfect document to submit to your manager, it's also not gonna work. You have to kind of like play the game throughout the year. Again, play the game. I'm not saying work harder. Like, I will literally scream that off a rooftop. I don't want you to play harder. I just want you to play the game appropriately. So I can share some of the things that I did to like be very loud without doing extra work. So the first thing I did is I created this Slack channel with the leadership team. So this included my manager and basically everyone up to the top of like literally the VP of product. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna be ruthless. Like, I'm gonna tell everyone I'm doing. So I created this leadership channel and I would include my like main team members as well in there. And then every Friday I would spend 5 minutes and I would write down what the team did that week, and like top things we achieved. No one asked me to submit this. Nobody asked me. No one's reading it most of the time. Actually, no, that's not true. Like, I would get read receipts like every week. Like, they would read it. Even like the leadership team, no one would really respond to it or react to it. Like, I kind of was like talking to a wall. Like, I was literally a ghost. Every like 10 weeks though, like someone would be like, wow, that's actually really cool. So what happens at the end of the year? I'm top of mind the entire year. I'm constantly like, hey, I exist. Hey, I'm doing things. Hey, I exist. Hey, I do things. Like, no one's gonna tell me like, stop sending these messages. This is not like you're texting a boy where it's like double texting is cringe. No. So at the end of the year when I'm getting promoted, they're like, I have this like, emotional feeling that she did so much, because the whole year you made them feel actually through the Slack channel that you were doing a lot. So when they comes and you say, hey, I saved the company $10 million, you're like, that doesn't even sound fake. That seems real. Like, she was doing so much the whole time. The thing is, a lot of other people were doing that much, if not way more than me, but they weren't telling the leadership team constantly. Remember how I said earlier, I was like, don't do things no one asked you to do. But sometimes it's a little bit confusing what you're asked to do, because you'll get asked like 15 things. So like, what should you actually do? So what I would do is I would have a monthly growth conversation with my manager. Like, I didn't ask her for it. I like put it on her calendar. I was like, okay, every month, every Friday, let's have this growth conversation. Like, feel free to like put it at a time that you like, but this is happening every month. Like, I need it. And then I would go into the conversation and we would use this framework called start, stop, and continue. We would both do it on each other. Like, it would also be a great way for me to give her feedback, how she could be a better manager to me. And then also what she would do is she would tell me what I should start, stop, and continue. And anything outside of the start, stop, and continues that she told me to do, like anything that outside of that meeting that wasn't mentioned, I wouldn't do it. Sometimes your manager will also give you a bunch of busy work, like go do this 5 things. I think I was a little bit too afraid to be like, no, I'm not going to do it to my literal manager. But I'd be like, okay. And then what I would do is I would put it on my to-do list on the last, because it didn't fit my priorities. And then when she would check back on it, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't gotten it to yet because I've done XYZ, which are the top priorities you told me. And then she can't disagree with the fact that I deprioritized it. I'm not saying no, I'm not going to do it. But you can't disagree why I deprioritized it. And if I'm doing my top priorities and the day is over, the work day is over, like, no one's paying me overtime, so she also can't argue with the fact that I didn't work on it overtime. Okay, moving on from that, the other thing that I would do, and this is like so unhinged, but I highly recommend. I never got in trouble for this. I only got praised for this. I would put a quarterly meeting on the calendar with the entire leadership team and present something. Most of the time it would be like a project I was working on, or like maybe sharing like highlights of the year or something like that. But I would present something and I wouldn't even ask the leadership team permission. I would talk to their EA and be like, I want some time with them. Can you try to find a calendar and like spot that works? And this would be oftentimes like several months in the future, but I would have that hold and then it wouldn't get booked. I would take all their time, all these really important people time, and share what we're doing and get their feedback and get their opinion and make them feel important. And then what it would do, it would make me important. All of a sudden I like self-proclaimed myself as important. So at the end of the year, when I'm actually having that promotion conversation with them, I have self-declared myself as important 4 times a year. They're going to also see me as that, right? They see you at the way that you present yourself. Like, a lot of these companies have like internal wikis, internal blogs, or like social media. I would like post on them. I would like make my own content. This oftentimes is going to happen outside of the 9 to 5 work hours. Like, this is not part of your work. Like, no one asked you to do it. This is like literally you building your internal company brand. Your personal brand when you're at a company exists separately from your personal brand outside of work. And yeah, this is going a little bit outside of your like regular work hours, but cultivating your craft and becoming a better writer and like working on marketing and content is only going to help your professional development and your brand and make you better at doing that in the future. So it is completely and 100% worth every minute that you spend on it outside of work. Honestly, you would have to go and pay for this learning and development anyway. So in some ways you could see it as like you're getting it for free. But at the end of the year, you will get promoted for it. So you will benefit from that time and you will get paid for the time. It's just a little bit later. So this is literally like everything. This is everything I got. This is everything I did. Even if you do like 20% of what I said, you're still going to get a higher pay bump at the end of the year during the annual promo cycle. If this was like also overwhelming, like again, like I mentioned, please feel free to grab the like guide that I have, which talks about all these things. And it actually has like rubrics and tables that you can literally copy, paste, and use for yourself. I am so excited to see you guys all get raises this year. I need to see all of us making more money. We deserve more money. And at the end of the day, like we cannot sit behind and be shy, not play the game, not play the politics of corporate America. Like at the end of the day, we lose. No one else but us gets left behind. And so this is our chance. By working hard and by overexerting ourselves, we further extend the stereotype that like as women we are constantly taking advantage of, and it's really our time to showcase like our equality in the workplace, that we matter and our voices matter, and this is really your time to seize. So I don't want any of us overworking and working more hours than anyone's asking us to, but I do want to see us all making more money. So I hope even just one or two of these strategies you can incorporate. I promise you it's going to be so helpful to your eventual decision of whether or not you get a raise. And I'm so excited to hear all the raises you get this year. And thanks for listening. And I hope you guys learned as much as I did in all the office politics that I participated in my corporate experience.